Me. Yeah, I just said start without him. That's fine. And let's get going here. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Kicking It with Kruse. I'm your host, as always, Ben Kruse. Joining alongside one of my co-hosts, James Gonzalez. Isaiah Lowen should be on his way, and I also have another buddy of mine, John Alcorn, who is coming on for the first time tonight for in terms of my show. So, welcome, John. My pleasure to have you on here, and obviously, we'll go into the topics, obviously, after I have my opening remarks. But I just want to, first of all, give it off to my other two hosts, at least on here for right now. I'll start with John. How are you doing, my friend? Thanks for coming on tonight.
So I guess Isaiah is here non-existent as Miami Heat's 3-point percentage in their defense in the perimeter in the third and fourth quarter. Neither here nor there. Obviously, I don't have a lot of weight in the game because my team got embarrassed by the Knicks. But no, it's just good to be here, counting down to the league, and I'll be curious to see if your Patriots get D-Hop.
Definitely. So, as well as James, how are you doing?
I'm good. I've been working a lot, so this is the first show of any kind I've done in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, to be honest with you. So it felt weird having a day off today, and we'll see about the weekend. But I'm doing well. Other from that, I took a shower now, so I feel good. I feel refreshed, so I'm ready to get into these topics and talk for once.
I'm refreshed myself as, I before we get started, I was at actually the White Sox Yankees game a couple nights ago with my buddy, and I don't know if you guys have been aware, but there's been some crazy wildfires that's been going on from Canada. And I, of course, myself had no idea what was going on because I saw the weather forecast for that game. It was supposed to be nice and sunny out. So obviously I'm on the train going the game, ready to go with my friend and stuff like that. And I'm looking outside and just like, it looks very gloomy out. It's very like dark and just like maybe it'll rain here and there, maybe it'll pass and shower and whatnot. And then I got in the stadium and part of me is just like, I've never seen a type of sky like this before. Like really, really dark and stuff like that. And my buddy's just like, yeah, I haven't been hearing the news as of late. And I'm just like, well, only really the stuff I watch really most part is sports. But obviously I should be watching more of it. And I mean, Wednesday I got out of work and just smoke in the air. I mean, I was getting it like crazy in my area. Obviously the air quality has been kind of crappy the last couple of days, but it's finally back. Kind of my area kind of feels good. New York City, where my dad works, he usually goes in twice a week, and he went in one of the days where I don't know if you guys saw the photos of the city, but it looked like absolutely like an apocalypse. Pretty much just hit the city. So that was pretty much kind of like my week. As obviously feels good to be kind of back and rejuvenated, and I haven't really experienced something much of that and overall before, but. We have our first comment for tonight. Christy, how are you doing, Christy? Welcome in. So with that being said, though, let's get started. Our topics for overall for tonight, we'll kind of first start with the NBA Finals discussion. I know I haven't kind of really talked much about this NBA Finals with you both as of late. I got a little bit, I believe, with some of the Isaiah. We'll also talk about the latest news about Chris Paul, as there's been potential rumors, or I guess the latest of him potentially being waived. There's also been some reports that it could potentially be a re-sign, potential, trade talk. It is what it is. We'll talk about that. There's some news about Damian Lillard, as he's essentially been talking about in terms of his loyalty for Portland. There's been some stuff on Instagram Live he's been talking about Boston and some other teams. So we'll talk about that. As well as Karl-Anthony Towns. There's been some rumblings as of late that he could be on the move in a couple weeks, so I'll talk about that as well too. And then we'll get into the NFL as obviously DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook have been really headlined in the rumors as of late. Two headline type of players that could be finding new homes for their next season. So we'll talk about those two guys, where potentially they could be fits, as looks like Hopkins has already two teams that could be in for visits, including one of the teams that I support. So I'll be obviously talking about that. And as well as Bleacher Report had some overall questions that I wanted to have as an open discussion about for teams that essentially have question marks after OTAs. And I'll kind of talk more about that with you both kind of as the show goes on. So obviously talk about that. We'll do our MLB Weekly recap as usual. And then we'll probably, if we can, we'll try to do some trivia to finish off for the overall show for tonight before closing remarks. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If there's anything else that I kind of see as the show goes on, I'll obviously put it into discussion, but it's kind of the things that at least I have for now. So we'll start with the NBA Finals discussion, at least for now first. As, of course, the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat have been playing this overall finals. You know, guys, obviously I know that a lot of people have been talking about this finals as boring, not, a lot of hype around this finals. But I don't know, I've been watching a lot more baseball as of late. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, the Celtics and Bruins kind of being out. But I've obviously been kind of peeking around, with this NBA Finals talk, as we actually looks like we have our last co-host for tonight. Perfect time, actually, Isaiah, as you seem to actually not miss a whole lot. We haven't even gotten to our first discussion yet. So with that being said, though, obviously the NBA Finals is it's been an overall series.
Ben, do we have you?
I thought it was just me. Okay, so they've been kind of froze there for a second.
For me, myself.
We can hear you, unlike the Miami defense in the third quarter.
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
Okay, I'll keep my camera at least off for now. But yeah, the Denver Nuggets are now up 3-1 in this series as they actually went to Miami and took two of the games from this Miami Heat team. The Heat have been a very good team at home in this playoffs, but they're actually now on a 4-game losing streak at home in the last 4. So that's actually something to really keep an eye on for sure. The one thing going into this series that I was really surprised about is how overall balanced and deep this Denver Nuggets team is. Outside of Jokic and Murray, they have guys in terms of their length between Aaron Gordon, guys like Bruce Brown stepped up tonight. They just seem like they just have too much for this Heat team to kind of overcome. And now the Heat are in a certain situation where, they've been battle tested all postseason, but it just might be in a certain situation where it just might be too much. I'll kick it over to whoever wants to start first. But what is your overall discussion, guys, of kind of this series as a whole? I guess I'll start with James, kind of start from bottom and turn it around to Isaiah, then to John. James, kind of overall, first of all, this series between this Denver Nuggets and Miami Heat series, and in terms of you watched any of this game tonight, what's your overall thoughts? And do you feel like this series is coming to an end? Do you feel like if the Heat have any type of magic left in their overall great magical playoff run?
Well, first, I felt like coming in, Denver was going to have the advantage having all those days off. And, of course, Miami coming off a 7-game series with Boston. I felt like Denver was going to have the advantage of that. So, and I thought right away they were going to be better because Miami doesn't have Hero. And I don't think he's going to play at all this series, to be honest with you. I know there was rumors, oh, my God, he was shooting or he was running. That doesn't matter. He's not ready to play game action. So you can throw those Hero rumors out of the door. Excuse me. So they have a tight rotation there with Denver. I mean, it's so tight. Reggie Jackson really isn't playing. He's here and there. I know he came in game 3, but he didn't really do much. Excuse me. So I thought Denver had the better team overall. They just showed that all year long, honestly. Miami coming in, you felt like, well, they had to somehow get in the play-in. they lost, remember, in the first game of the play-in to Atlanta. That brought Atlanta in, of course, number 7, and Miami had to survive against Chicago. I think, to win the play-in tournament game and be the 8th spot, and then they had a crazy series throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs. So Miami had a tough road. Denver, a little slippage here and there against Phoenix, but they took care of the Lakers, so that was fine for them. So you felt like overall they have a better team, and just felt like that as they got to the finals here. And looking, tonight, they really saw what they did well, and they continue to do it after Game 3 here, and then Game 4 tonight. They felt so good, I bet, knowing that, hey, Jokic can do whatever he wants to do, and Murray as well. But then you have someone like Aaron Gordon, who, it might sound weird when I say this, but I'm really proud of this dude because, yeah, he was putting up some numbers. He was only known as a dunker before in Orlando, really. Like, okay, he's great at dunk contest guy, but I don't know if he could lead a team or be part of a functioning good team. I know they made the playoffs a couple of years with the Magic, but to see him thrive with the Nuggets, it's really cool. It's a really good story. Porter Jr. also good player there. Caldwell Pope, I know he wants to get his revenge. He had some bad things with LeBron after a while, not shooting the ball against Phoenix in that series of 21. So I know he wants some revenge. Bruce Brown has been really good. So all these guys, really except Caldwell Pope and Porter, everyone else stepped up. Brown, and especially Gordon tonight, leading the team with 27 points. Jokic, he had the ankle scare. He did come back. He had 23. Murray with 15. Of course, he was not hobbled, but that Game 3, when he landed on the floor, he had a big burn and a big cut on his hand here. Like the skin was wide open. It was crazy. I didn't even know about that till yesterday. I saw a picture of it or video of it. I thought, well, that's tough for him because, that's his guide hand when you shoot the basketball. You need that. So that's really tough for him. I see why he only scored 15 in 43 minutes, but he was able to dish out 12 assists, some Jokic would do. And it's amazing, too, when the first time this happened, was it Game 3, they had Murray and Jokic both have triple-doubles. That tells you when these two are together on the floor, when Murray, was out, you could tell they were really missing him. But when these two are together, you could really tell that, hey, they could do whatever they want. They feel like they can do. So I'm really excited for Denver. I know, as you mentioned, it's not really a big series, or the ratings aren't really high for it. But I watch any NBA Finals, like any playoffs. I will watch. So I've been locked into the series. I know Jimmy Butler. He's trying to do whatever he can, but it's really not enough when you think about it. He had 25 points tonight. Bam Adebayo 20. He played tougher tonight. That was good to see. Love had 12. Lowry with 13. Robinson with 12. Martin with 11. But you just feel like with Gabe Vincent only getting 2 and Struss had as many points as us. Nothing. That's not a winning formula there. And as John mentioned, the third quarter was pretty bad. I know the Heat were trailing by 4 at the break. They had a clutch 3-pointer in the corner by Butler, and that always seems to be his thing from any corner. He makes the threes really good under pressure. But they were 8 from 25 from three-point land, and that's not going to work for a team that relies on three-point shooting. And if you're going to miss more than you make, or you always do, but when you miss more than usual, you're not going to win the game. So obviously that happened. And Denver shot 50% from downtown, so that really helped. So really, and Denver had 11 steals too. You got to factor that in. They did what Miami should be doing when you think about it. Now, of course, 108-95 was the final, of course, but they go what was it? Denver goes back there to Colorado with a 3-1 lead. What is it? 35-1 all time or 36-1 all time? Teams with 3-1 leads.
Only team was Cleveland, 2016.
2016 Golden State was the one leading by 3-1 and gave it up to those Cavaliers. We all remember that. And it's not looking like it's looking like Miami is going home by themselves. On Sunday, the game's on Sunday or Monday. I forgot. Monday. Why? Okay. Monday night. It looks like Denver's going to win the title. I'm going to say at home. I know those fans. They've been waiting for a while. excuse me, for a championship in basketball. Of course, they've had Avalanche winning 3 times, I believe. Yep. The same with the Broncos. Colorado been to 1 World Series, of course, Ben. But the Red Sox swept them in 4 in 2007. So I think Denver, they really want that basketball championship. They've been through a lot of different players from Carmelo Anthony, Alex English, Antonio McDyess, Stan Issel, David Thompson. Just look at their history. And the thing is, hey, they have a great playoff history of going to the playoffs, but never getting to the finals. So it's about time that first time to get there, you might as well win the whole damn thing. You always remember your first time. And hopefully they get it done on Monday so I don't sound stupid. And they win Game 5 and win the series 4-1. I'm kind of hoping for that. Or we'll have a crazy comeback like playoff Butler and Jimmy. We'll see if that happens. But I think it's over on Monday, to be honest with you. I think Denver closes it out on Monday night.
All right. I'll take it over to Isaiah now. Isaiah, obviously, James obviously had a lot of great things about this overall series. It's a 3-1 series now. I mean, it just feels like Miami's on the brink of elimination, but they're a team specifically that has their backs against the wall when they play at their best. But between Butler's ankle and kind of a lot of other factors besides it, and just overall the balanced and length attack of this Nuggets team at the forefront, do you just feel like it's just too much for the Heat to overcome? And now specifically, the Nuggets are feeling confident for their potential first overall championship come Monday night. So, Isaiah, I just want to get your overall thoughts on this series.
This series is over. It's over. I don't think the Miami Heat have a shot to win Game 5. In fact, I think Game 5 is going to be a blowout. I think that it's going to be what you guys remember when the Miami Heat played Oklahoma City in the finals, I think back in 2013 or 14, and the Thunder kept it close. I believe they won the first game, and then they lost Game 2. It was a really close game. Game 3 and Games 4 were really, really close. And then it was 3-1 heading back to Miami for Game 5, and the Heat just blew them out by like 30 or 40 points behind that home crowd, and Mike Miller with all that threes that he was knocking down, and LeBron and D Wade and Chris Bosh going off. I think it's going to be the same thing on Monday night, because you got that Denver crowd, like James mentioned, who have been waiting for a long, long time for their first championship. You know that they're going to be hyped up. They're going to be ready to go. It's going to be like 50 times what we've seen in the past. And then you look at this Denver Nuggets team, it just seems like every time a team goes into Denver to play the Denver Nuggets, they just cannot shoot the 3-ball well. Well, maybe it's like the altitude that has something to do with it. I don't know, but it just seems like the Miami Heat from the jump have been overmatched. I know they won Game 2, and it was surprising that they won Game 2, but it just seems like from the beginning that they have had no shot in this series, that they've been behind the entire series. And the thing about Miami is it's not that they don't have the athleticism to keep up with Denver. It's not that they don't have the heart to keep up with Denver. It's that they're not big enough to keep up with Denver. All the Denver Nuggets players are like 6'5" and taller. I mean, it's crazy how tall these guys are. The key to beating the Nuggets is you gotta be physical with them. You gotta have the length to match up with them. That's why the Lakers were able to beat them and dominate them back in 2020, because they had all that length with Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee just constantly flooding Jokic and all the guys that they had on the inside and making it tough for the guards with guys like KCP and Kuzma and LeBron as well. So Miami doesn't have that. They have Bam Adebayo, who is a good center, but he's not a great center. He is shorter than Jokic. He can't defend Jokic. And then you have other guys like, I believe, Gabe Vincent, Jimmy Butler, who, let's face it, Jimmy Butler has done all that he can do, but it's just not enough. And I think that, tonight he showed up, he played well, but in games games 2 and 3, in the beginning of the series, we didn't really see a lot from Jimmy Butler. I think he only had 13 in game 1. Game 2, it just seemed like, he scored a lot of points, but it just seemed like he wasn't really he didn't make his presence felt. And then in game 3, it was kind of the same thing where he had his points, but you just didn't see that presence from Jimmy Butler like you did in that Celtics series. So I think that this series is over. I think with Denver's length, the fact that they, whenever they take a shot, it just seems like they are just towering over the Miami Heat players. And the fact that Miami just cannot shoot the 3 ball extremely well in this series, that's what's going to cost them. We said this before the series started. The only way Miami has a shot in this series is if they shot the 3 ball extremely well. Like, they have to shoot the 3 ball like 45% or better from downtown every single game to have a chance. Because you're not going to keep up with Denver, with them shooting the 3 that they are right now, with them dominating inside the paint with their length with Jokic and Gordon. You're not going to be able to stop them. So you have to keep up by countering them with the 3 ball. And Miami, if you look at what they've done the last 2 games that they've lost, they've shot 32% from downtown. Like, that's not going to cut it. That is not going to cut it at all. And that was in your own home court too. That was not in Denver. That was in your own home court, and you couldn't shoot the ball at an exceptional level, which is required to take down these Denver Nuggets since you're so undersized. So, I think this series is over. I think this series has been over since the end of the third quarter in game 3. I thought that's when Denver really took Miami's soul, but it is over now. And sadly for Miami, they just don't have the length or the playmaking and scoring ability to keep up with the Denver Nuggets. If this was like the Lakers or someone other than the Nuggets, I think Miami would have a shot, but Denver, they're just too lengthy, they're too talented, and they shoot the 3 too much for Miami.
Yeah, before I get to John, I said a lot of good points in the fact of Miami. The biggest things about their run is they were shooting the 3 lights out in terms of their overall production offensively. And I feel like the Nuggets were looking at this and like, we keep this under 40% consistently behind the arc. I mean, our chances of winning are going to be great, more than not, especially with the offense and balanced attack that this team has. And, I know that Joe Mazzulla, of course, had his moments, but you look at this specifically, you have a coach now that knows how to be able to match up against a coach like Spoelstra, right? Mark Malone deserves to get the flowers that he deserves, because I feel like specifically we talk about Jokic, we talk about Murray, and deservedly so for sure. But when you look at it specifically, when you have a team in the finals, there's a reason specifically outside of the actual talent, and it's because you have a pretty good coaching staff, and you have 2 coaches right here that have a specific reason in terms of why the teams are there, in terms of why they're there. And so I think that Malone should deserve getting his flowers as well for that specific case. John, I'll turn it over to you to cap off the NBA Finals discussion. Of course, the Nuggets are up 3-1. They are on the verge of their getting their first NBA title come Monday night. Will this series be extended to a Game 6 back to Miami for, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday? or do you feel like this Denver team pretty much has it right now to finish off for Monday?
Number one, they need to be calling the Hyatt because it's over. And I think you're seeing in this finals to a certain extent why the ratings to our lower interest isn't as high is the stories and Cinderella stories. Certain stories don't have a Cinderella ending, and that's the Miami Heat here. I think you're finally seeing like they had a great run. They dominated everybody, but they finally met their match in the Denver Nuggets, and they just choked. And I think of one player for the Heat. Mind you, this player is not the whole team, but it can change an entire dynamic for a team, and that's Tyler Hero. I think if he's on this starting five for the past 2 games, I think we're seeing a different team. That doesn't necessarily mean they would win this series, which my dumbass said that Heat in 6 is at least you'd be seeing a hugely different team. Like going into the third quarter, what kind of dumbass defense was that? You're letting my grandma, his uncle, freaking the president shoot threes from behind the line. I mean, my gosh, they couldn't play defense. They couldn't get to the perimeter. They couldn't get anything done. And it's just like Murray shooting threes, Jokic shooting threes, and you're getting Jokic more wide open than Kim Kardashian is in her next relationship DMs. I mean, my gosh, you expect to play a team and you want to win. You have to play freaking defense. Guarantee you there's only so much you can do when it comes to Jokic. I get it. But at some point, I think like without Tyler Hero in the lineup, that does affect the dynamic. And you're just seeing Jimmy Butler's doing all what he can. And you're seeing right now why they were the 8th seed. And I mean, even if you put in Tyler Hero, I don't know if there's anything you could really fix. Because if he's not healthy for this game, I doubt he should be healthy for Monday night. If he's not healthy for Monday night, this series to me is 100% over. And if not, it's already over. I was wrong. Congrats to the Denver Nuggets for winning the finals. But there's nothing you can do. You have a guy that changes your entire dynamic. You get in your own head. You remind me of, forgive me, Ben, a certain other NBA team that when they get in a certain moment, they struggle with shooting the three. And it's just so frustrating because I know what this team is capable of, but unfortunately, when you got a guy like Jokic, they can just dominate the paint. But again, without Tyler Hero, you're basically seeing right now that the Heat have at their match. They hit the wall, and fortunately, there's no way getting past it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree in the fact of I feel like the Heat are kind of getting the Celtics way in the playoffs where, the threes, of course, go down. That they play better the way that they are. But I just think that, Jimmy Butler, I think between the ankle, of course, Hero being out for a lot has been massive. But, the thing about Miami specifically, I just think is the role players that were doing great against the Celtics just came back down to earth. Like guys like Max Strus, guys like Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, those guys specifically, those 3 guys were the undrafted guys. I know Duncan Robinson's playing really, really well, but those 3 guys specifically that I mentioned are just not getting enough done. And for a team against like Denver, you got to be able to at least get consistent production from those guys because you just don't have a chance outside of them. I mean, Jimmy and Bam can do essentially all that they can do, but Denver's just too good of a team specifically where you have to have other guys essentially step up as more of a team effort than just kind of singular guys to carry the overall fort. Before we go on to the Damian Lillard and the other stuff, I just want to get Isaiah. He wanted to talk quickly something about Mark Malone.
Yeah, Ben, I'm glad that you brought up Mike Malone because the thing about him is that
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I like this guy as a coach from his days in Sacramento. I thought that he was wrongly fired by the Kings. And you know what? The Sacramento Kings honestly need to be investigated for being one of the worst franchises in the NBA. Because the thing is, this guy got fired. You know why he got fired in Sacramento? The Sacramento Kings have been a laughing stock for the last 20, 25 years, right? And it seemed like the Kings were actually starting to get turned around before their latest run when Mike Malone was there with DeMarcus Cousins and I believe Tyreek Evans was there. And he got fired after I think they were like 10-14, which was their best record in like 10 years at that time. He got fired because the stupid owner wanted to play a cherry-picking brand of basketball.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you guys remember that story. It came
4 against 5.
Yeah, he got fired because the owner, apparently, this new owner for the Kings at that time, Vivek Ranadive, he wanted to play a brand of basketball where they would have, I believe, 4 guys on defense, and then they would have one guy just stay on the opposite end of the court every single possession of every single game. That way, if the opposing team missed a shot, they could easily get the rebound and just throw it over to that guy on the opposite end of the court. He wanted to play that, and he brought that up to Mike Malone, and Mike Malone was like, hell no, man, we're not doing that, and the owner fired him because he laughed at his idea, man. What kind of a dumb thing is that, man? When I read that crap, I was like, man, I'm glad Mike Malone was out of Sacramento, man, and the fact that he's doing well in Denver and about to lead them to a championship, man, he should be so proud of himself. And, you know, the Sacramento Kings, even though they had a great year this year, they should be ashamed of themselves for firing Mike Malone. Because, I mean, imagine what Mike Malone would have done with DeMarcus Cousins and Tyreek Evans. They wouldn't have won a championship, but they would have at least been in the playoffs 3 more times than they've done currently in that span. And last thing I want to add before we, I throw it back to Ben is you guys mentioned – the Heat's role players, right? About Strus, Gabe Vincent, all those guys coming back down to earth. That's the biggest key right now in the series why the Nuggets, I feel like, have a 3-1 lead is because you look at the Nuggets role players, guys like Bruce Brown, stepping up big time. Guys like Christian Braun, the rookie, who had a tremendous game in game number 3, who I apologize for calling him Frosty the Snowman because he absolutely proved me wrong for that. But yeah, credit to him. He stepped up. And then you have other guys, that have stepped up big time when it mattered. KCP as well, he knocking down all those threes. It's the role players. And at the end of the day, your stars can just do so much, but your role players that have to step up, and Miami's just hasn't, while Denver has. And, if I'm Tyler Hero, I wouldn't even suit up for game 5 if Miami tells me to, because why would you risk re-injuring your hand injury, who I believe still has some soreness in there? Why would you risk it if you know that this series is pretty much over? Because I don't think Tyler Hero can give you, 40 points a game, which he has to at this point in order for you to have a chance to come back and win this series with just how deep and talented Denver is.
Definitely so. So with that being said, that's obviously kind of the NBA discussion for the finals we'll talk about, at least for now. We'll talk more about that next week. We will talk about specifically if the Nuggets have crowned themselves as their first overall championship for their overall franchise, or do we have more basketball and go back to a game 6? Time will tell about that. But now we'll keep it on the NBA. And we will talk about now the latest in terms of some overall stars that are currently kind of floating been around in terms of trade talks, in terms of rumor talk, whatever you kind of want to call it. And the first guy specifically that is fully in terms of the news as of late, it's kind of a shocking move, but at the same time, is Chris Paul. As this was first reported, I believe, by Chris Haynes. I think, is he from Yahoo Sports, guys? I'm pretty sure he is. But regardless of the fact, there has been discussions of him being waived from the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, this was a couple days ago. And then Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams Charania have been having some latest talks during the NBA countdown before the last 2 games of the finals. There's a big deadline coming up on, I believe it's June 28th for the Phoenix Suns in terms of they're trying to ponder on the team's future for between Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. And actually, funny enough, Isaiah was talking about the Phoenix Suns, their future. I know that he's been having this big talk about Devin Booker becoming the Los Angeles Laker, if that ever came to fruition. But that's another topic for another day. But still, with that being said, I would not be shocked if Chris Paul is potentially going to be waived. And, obviously that's been the latest reports and kind of the overall rumblings. Apparently, according to Woj, that he wants to return back to Phoenix. He really likes to play with Devin Booker and, Kevin Durant. But I don't think specifically it's all about Chris Paul. I think it's in terms of the ownership, the franchise, in terms of what direction that they want to go in. Obviously, Monty Williams isn't there anymore, so that's of course something probably he wants to take into account. What type of coach that the Phoenix Suns are going to have, as I don't believe that they have announced their next coach yet as of right now. So
Frank Vogel.
Frank Vogel. Okay, now I want to make sure I get to some of that reaction then about. We'll talk about that I guess before we shift over to NFL, but So we'll go over to I guess Isaiah first. We'll go Isaiah to James to John, and John, you'll be next in terms you'll be up first. We'll all go in an overall order here, left and right and stuff like that. Isaiah, what's your overall thoughts in terms of Chris Paul being reportedly waived and kind of the other stuff? I know that he hasn't been fully waived, but what's your overall thoughts in terms of the latest on this rumors, and where do you feel like specifically that there could be some good destinations for Chris Paul if he was able to be moved on from the Phoenix Suns? And do you feel like DeAndre Ayton is also going to be on his out as well too with them? And do you just feel like that there's just going to be a new, I guess you could say, just potentially a rebuild down the road, with a lot of their big time stars, potentially being up in jeopardy here?
Well, Ben, my first thought when I saw that news from Chris Haynes, I believe it came down on, I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday. It was shocking, but I wasn't surprised because I thought Chris Paul was going to be out of Phoenix this offseason, but I thought it was going to be via trade. I thought that it was going to be via trade. I thought there was no way that they were going to just flat out waive him and just cut him, because Chris Paul, even though he's 38 years of age right now, he still can play. This guy put up pretty good numbers last season. He put up top 10 point guard numbers last season, so he can still play. Do I think he's worth, I believe he's going to get paid $30 million on his next contract? Of course not. And Phoenix should absolutely not pay him. Any team that decides to trade for that, they will be out of their minds to trade for a 38-year-old point guard for $30 million. Like, there's no way. I know Woj said that there's been flurry of trade talks, but let's face it, that's just Adrian Wojnarowski trying to hype up Chris Paul's trade market. There's no way anybody will trade for Chris Paul's contract. And if anybody does, it probably would be some lottery team like Detroit or Orlando, or some lottery team that is just trying to get
the Spurs maybe.
Picks. Yeah, trying to get extra draft picks from Phoenix just to take on his contract. They'll probably waive Chris Paul after that, or buy him out, and then he'll be a free agent. But I fully anticipate that Chris Paul will be a free agent. And you know what, Ben, James, and John? This is sweet, sweet payback for what happened back in 2011, man. Rest in peace, David Stern. But, Chris Paul should have been a Laker back in 2011. You guys all know that. He should have been a Laker back in 2011. And it looks like now he has the prime opportunity to come to LA and put on the purple and gold. Because let's face it, the Lakers need a point guard. Chris Paul would be a way cheaper option than D'Angelo Russell. He gets to go to LA, play with his best friend LeBron James, and LeBron doesn't have to play on the ball that much. It just makes too much sense for it not to happen. And if you're Chris Paul, if you look at the situations, right? Let's say you get traded, you get waived, whatever. You look at the situations of teams that are going to be out there. LA, you get to play on a team that surprised everybody, went to the Western Conference Finals, be the starting point guard, be in a backcourt with Austin Reeves, and then you have LeBron there. You have other players. LA will probably get more assets this year because they'll have a lot of depth. Because they're not going to sign anybody to a max contract except LeBron and AD. So you have that team to work with, and then you have. You have the Celtics potentially. I know Colin Cowherd threw out a Marcus Smart, Chris Paul deal, but you know what? If I'm Boston, there's no way I'm doing that. There's absolutely no way I'm doing that deal. It just doesn't make any sense. The Celtics could pursue Chris Paul if he's a free agent. I think that could help out. He could be that, point guard that I felt like Boston really needed, because I felt like, with Tatum and Brown, they were always just being on the ball. And I felt like having another distributor would definitely work better for Boston. You look at, the Knicks, that's another possibility. the one possibility, even though I really want him in LA, that I'm intrigued by is him going to San Antonio. Imagine him with Victor Wembanyama. We could honestly have Lob City 2.0. I mean, good grief. Like, with Wemby doing the stuff that he's doing, man. Yeah, like, dude, this guy's, oh my God. Like,
Isn't that crazy?
Chris Paul would unleash full Victor Wembanyama. Like, he would. Like, if I'm him, I'm not signing with the Spurs because, you're 38. You want to win.
He's trying to win a championship. But
yeah. But imagine him and Wemby. Oh, my gosh. That'd be a crazy combination. But, yeah, that's another possibility. Miami, no, because they have Kyle Lowry. So you would be like, third string, I believe, on that team. It just doesn't make too much sense. And last but not least, Phoenix. And if I'm Chris Paul, I think it's truly between Phoenix, going back to Phoenix on a veteran minimum, or the Lakers. But if you're Chris Paul, I think you look at the Phoenix Suns, they have Kevin Durant there. They have Devin Booker there. They're going to be in salary cap hell for the next 3 years, right? They're going to be in salary cap hell for the next 3 years. They are basically banking on Booker and KD for the next couple of seasons. And the thing is, with Phoenix and salary cap hell, I don't think they'll be able to get a lot of reserve players that they really want to get. So they'll be stuck on Booker, Durant, and a bunch of role players, and that's it. Not good role players. And you just look at the Suns. If I'm Chris Paul, I'm choosing the Lakers just because the Lakers have LeBron. They've got AD there. You add Chris Paul into the mix. But the thing that really tilts it into the Lakers' favor is they have young depth with Reeves and Rui coming back, most definitely. And LA's going to have, a first-round draft pick number 17. And also, they'll have at least a lot more money to spend than Phoenix. Phoenix just won't have any money to spend at all. So I think for Chris Paul, if I'm him, I'm going to LA just because I think you can win right now with the Lakers. Well, with the Suns, it's like, you go there, you stay with Phoenix, but it's like, is it really a better situation than you were in before? Which I don't think it is. So, I think that for Chris Paul, it's good that he's a free agent because this is probably going to be his last opportunity to decide where he wants to go and hopefully win a championship.
I'll go to James next. What's your overall thoughts on this Chris Paul latest here?
So I know Chris Paul's preference is to remain with the Suns, but they don't want to pay him the 30.8. Isaiah mentioned the waiving situation. If they waive him before the 28th of June, Phoenix would only owe him 15.8, so half of that contract. So I can see them definitely keeping him. But the thing is, if you feel like he's not going to produce as he's getting older, you might want to move on from him. That's where Damian Lillard may come in. But the thing is, you have, DeAndre Ayton there, and he's kind of a waste of space, to be honest with you. At least he was in the paint against the Nuggets, not really trying to participate in rebounding. And he's always had a thing with Monty Williams, but I know Monty's gone. But I think it'd be a better situation somehow if they were able to swing for Lillard, either Aiden in that trade. But you don't have really much else. I mean, you traded your key bench players away for Kevin Durant. So it kind of feels like you don't have much other from draft picks in the future to get rid of, to be honest with you. So, Chris Paul, as I mentioned, I don't think he can be counted on as a top offensive player. But when you have two guys already there like Booker and Kevin Durant, you could just be a distributor, which is fine, which was the vision, I think, last season. But I honestly, if I'm Phoenix, I'm somehow trying to get Lillard or someone younger in there. Someone to not have the worst injuries at the worst times, like we've seen with Chris Paul. So I'm looking to move on, but my feeling is that he's earned a spot to stay there, but that could hurt the Suns later on next season if they choose to bring him back. So that's all I really got on it. I know what July 1st is when all the free agent signings, when you can sign a free agent, I think is, and all that. So I know there's going to be so many more rumors that people are going to spread, and I can't wait for that. That's more exciting than the regular season, to be honest with you.
And I'll turn it over to John last. John, what's your overall thoughts on this flurry of trade talk or potential latest of the Chris Paul situation, as Adrian Wojnarowski has been essentially saying there's three options for him, either a waive, a trade, or a re-signing Phoenix. What's your overall thoughts?
And the famous words of that crappy band, bye, bye, bye. I can hear that Golden Girls theme song. Thank you for being my friend, because they got another edition, man. I'm sorry, but this guy is, first of all, he wouldn't go to LA, so you need to stop smoking the crack and get drug tested, Isaiah. Thirdly, I don't know. I get everyone in the NBA ages differently. LeBron is playing really well at his age, but like not everyone's the same. It's just sports in general. I don't think Chris. First of all, why would they want him? Because the whole point of keeping him before, when you traded for Durant, was to try and get a championship this year, right? And you failed. So I think now you're looking the outlook. What do you do 2 to 3 years from now? Is Booker going to be gone in 2025 at all? And you may see some of those stepping stones. And I think it's just very unfortunate for him. But I don't know who would you trade for, because now, you got a new head coach. So I don't know where you go from here. I don't think you win a championship with Booker. Like, your best chance was in 2021. Mind you, that was without Kevin Durant. And they still lost. So I just don't see Devin Booker as a winner. I think when we continue to talk about certain players, we think it's like a sexy topic to talk about. And then we use that instead of being like, what has he done? What has this team done? Like, you put in freaking Kevin Durant and Chris Paul. What message are you sending? That not only is Kevin Durant a number 2 guy, he'll never be a number 1. Is he stuck in Phoenix? Because if Chris Paul gets released, if I remember correctly, they can't re-sign him, right? Or at least he's not eligible.
If they stretch his contract, if they stretch his contract, he can't be re-signed. But if they just outright waive him, they could, but it will only be on a veteran minimum.
But like, what team would actually want to trade for him? Like, seriously,
bottom team.
Yeah, but he
would have to be. They would have to really come at the perfect situation, and for an older type of player in which has not won a championship. And I just don't know in terms of his contract if anyone wants to be able to pay for it specifically. It's what, 30 mil in terms of what he wants to get paid for an older aging type of player that Chris Paul is specifically. It would have to come specifically in the right situation.
It would only be like an Andre. You guys remember when Andre Iguodala got traded from like the Warriors to like a really trash Memphis team at that time, right? And then Golden State sent like a first-round pick or whatever just to get Memphis to take it. It would be like that. Like, Phoenix would have to probably get Orlando or Detroit or, the Spurs or someone just to take that contract and attach a first-round pick.
It might be like a 3-team type of thing where you get traded to an overall place that he doesn't want to just unload, and then maybe get sent over to a place kind of for it in terms of its overall goods. But we'll see. That's obviously kind of the latest on Chris Paul. The last 2 other guys specifically are Damian Lillard and Karl-Anthony Towns. No, Damian Lillard's been having kind of this overall talks for a while, the last couple of years, I'd say, even especially last year. And, there's a lot of terms of his loyalty to Portland, which obviously I respect. Very similar to a guy like Bradley Beal in Washington. And, obviously the biggest thing in terms of for Dame is, does he want to kind of go through a young type overall team with Portland for years to come? Does he want to try to win one? Personally, I think a lot of people want him to go and, try to find a place where he could find and join another superstar. Like a Kyrie Irving type, where he goes to another place and I know he doesn't have this overall ego like a guy like Kyrie, but bringing himself forward to a place where he potentially could have a better chance to win a ring. Because with him doing it on his own right now, it's just as much as I love Dame, he just can't do it right now on his own specifically, especially with the really deep Western Conference. He had some overall words the last couple of days in terms of potential any places that he might want to play. He did say potentially Miami. I know that he said that him and Bam are very close. It didn't seem like he was really interested potentially to play in Boston. I know that him and JT, I think, have a little bit of something. I think, of course, too, with the Lakers, I don't think there was a lot of overall entrance there. Sorry, Isaiah, to burst your bubble on that specifically. But I think specifically for Dame, really, it could be really anything. I mean, I wouldn't rule out potentially Miami. I wouldn't rule out Philly. Do not rule that out specifically. I would not rule out Philly, even though it'd be kind of a very weird situation. I think specifically he still stays in Portland. I know McCollum was telling people if he was a betting man that he would see him leave. I know a lot of people would love Damian Lillard services, right? He's one of the best players in the league for sure, and so be it. But do you just feel like specifically that Dame is too loyal? There's a way in terms of saying that you're very loyal, right? And then there's very much of too loyal. Do you feel like specifically that this has to be the year, this offseason, where it's like, okay, enough's enough. I want to bring a superstar to Portland, or if you're Dame, you're just like, get me out of here. And what are some places specifically that you want to see Damian Lillard go to, for next season if he got moved? So I'll start with John actually on this one. John, what's your overall feel in terms of Damian Lillard? Do you feel like specifically that he needs to find a new home to try to get potentially himself to get a ring? And what could be some places if he did get moved, where do you think he can go?
First of all, Damian Lillard has no right to complain about not having a superstar. You take the big contracts to stay so loyal to one freaking NBA franchise and oh no, I don't have the extra superstar, bro. Grow up, you freaking baby, and put your Pampers on. You're the one that took that fat ass contract. What do you think is gonna happen? That's like, why are we shocked? Like, that's like saying, a certain player in football is like, I'm wondering why I'm not getting all the players I want so he can succeed. You took the contract, you freaking idiot. I just don't think he shouldn't be in Portland anymore for both sides. I think it's been a terrible relationship for years. He's wanted to stay with Laurel and stay with the team and take the fat contract, which honestly didn't deserve, but also it prohibits you from getting other players. But now they don't want to give him the players, even if he had the smaller contract, because who the heck wants to go to Portland? What is there in Oregon to do? Who gives a crap about Oregon sports? I'm sorry, but basketball-wise and college football, it's like it is what it is. But if I'm him, I guarantee part of that not getting a superstar is his fault. You took the contract, so I don't feel bad for you on that. But if you're going to leave, there should be a couple teams. It's not he can be that shooter, but I think he's like Kevin Durant. He's not a number one guy. He's a great, phenomenal, solid number two piece, but he's not going to be that first chip on your starting five. But maybe a couple things. Again, I'm saying unrealism. I don't know what team would do at this point because you're early to mid 30s. You haven't had any success in the playoffs. You're like a more fast-paced James Harden. You can score a lot, but not a winner. I don't know if you switch teams or not because that's what they thought with Harden. He went to Philly. Before that, went to Brooklyn. Didn't work. No championship. So I can never feel bad for a player, James, where you take a fat contract and then are like, oh, this team's not winning. You took the contract to prohibit the team to get better players. That's like saying, oh, I don't know how to drive. I don't know how to wipe my ass when I'm fighting. Well, because you're not asking. You're not doing what is required you to do, and you're wondering, I didn't pass high school. I didn't pass the test because you didn't study. You were too busy playing Fortnite in your mom's basement. At some point, as a man and as a player, you need to take freaking responsibility. This is on you. You took the contract. Why is nobody talking about that? Oh, because it's literally, we want to be kiss-ass with the media and we want to be buddy-buddy. Sometimes you have to tell the truth. And Damian Lillard, it's your fault why Portland's not winning. It's your fault.
Of course, I 100% agree. It's very similar to Bradley Beal. If you're going to take the contract, you're going to have to realize specifically, there's no in terms of turning back. If you're going to complain about it, then why do you take it in the first place? So obviously, that's why a superstar specifically, second thought specifically in your mind. A lot of the time, specifically, I don't feel sorry for somebody if they already take it, because they're obviously going to come at a cost if something bad happens or something specifically to them, you're just like, oh, well, now what's going to happen here? I don't want to get my certain guy. I want to get my certain guy. There's no need to be able to bitch about it, specifically if you essentially got the money that you want. So I will go over to James next. James, do you feel like specifically it's finally needed for Damian Lillard to get out of Portland after staying there his whole career if he wants to try to get his ring?
It seems like we have a lot of players in the league with this dilemma. And they've already been moving around when you think about it. And maybe Joel Embiid will get to that point one day. I don't know. But Philadelphia is a different market than Portland, so maybe not. Excuse me. But eventually, it's going to happen with Donovan Mitchell. It's going to happen with, well, I guess not with Jokic if they win on Monday. But I can see both sides. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. What John is saying is true. When you take that money, you're loyal to the team and you hinder, maybe get another piece in there. You're not a free agent destination. You only do things via trade. And they already did a trade getting rid of CJ McCollum, one guy that you worked with very well. But all you could do was just get to the conference finals one year. I want to say 2019 against Golden State. But that was it. Like, you couldn't go any further with that group. You had to do it over. And the do-over really hasn't led to anything more up to that level. So now you feel like, okay, there's really nothing else I could do here. But if he really wants to, he has the final say. If I was him, I would, just because you're starting to hear people talk and say, oh, yeah, dude, you should go. They're not going to do anything for you if you want to win a championship. But if you just want to take the money and continue to get your individual stats and not go to the playoffs, not even be close like the Blazers were last year, then you could just stay there, and then no doubt you'll be a Hall of Famer. You'll have your number 0 up in the Raptors up there with, Bill Walton, Drexler, Kersey, all those great Blazers from the past. But also, I'd be intrigued to see the offers for Damian Lillard just because of the money, just because of the contract, and how much Portland would need to get back when you think about it. You're replacing a Hall of Famer. You're replacing a triple threat. You're replacing, a superstar or star in the league, I should say. It's got to be the right deal for Portland. But with Lillard, it's all on him. If he wants to go for that ring, I know he's 33. He's probably got, a good 5 years left. Maybe he'd catch on with the team. He's almost like that. It's almost like James Harden in a way, where you're kind of stuck in that moment where, maybe I should just join up with a team and just stop doing it by myself. I really need the help again. I mean, when I look at it, when he was with the Blazers right away, they had a great nucleus, and they were one of my favorite teams to watch. When he was drafted 2012, and then the years on after that, before LaMarcus Aldridge left, they had Robin Lopez, LaMarcus Aldridge, Travis Outlaw, Nicholas Batum, and then later they got CJ McCollum. I know LaMarcus left to Spurs, and that kind of hurt, but they were able to have Nurkic, and I think that was the big problem, was Nurkic's health. If they had him, he wouldn't be as good as Jokic, but it would have been better for Lillard if they had a healthy Nurkic. So it's just been unfortunate. And as I said, it's got to be a good deal for both sides, Lillard and the Blazers, for him to leave. But it might not come this offseason, but it could come next offseason, season after that. I don't know. It's all what Lillard wants to do, honestly.
Of course, and before we get into the NFL discussion, I'll go to Isaiah. What's your overall thoughts in terms of Damian Lillard? Do you feel like it's finally needed for him to get out of Portland after staying there his whole career and being so loyal to the place where, is he a little too loyal, to a degree? Because there's loyalty and then there's loyalty. Do you feel like he finally has to get out and, just kind of be his own person and try to hopefully kind of focus on in terms of his goal, and that's to win a championship, and like other stars try to do?
I have a message for Dame Lillard. Number one, Dame Lillard, join the super team.
Don't you freaking dare. First of all, for it to be a super team, they would have to be a good team and not be a bunch of golden girls with broken backs.
Join D-Book and LeBron and AD. But jokes aside, of course, it's definitely time for Damian Lillard to get out of Portland. It's been time. I mean, we talk about, Bradley Beal and him bitching about, I can't win in Washington. Kyle Kuzma's too big of a diva and stuff like that, and they don't put talent around me. Then why on earth did you take that like 100 plus or whatever $200+ million contract to stay in Washington? It's the same thing with Damian Lillard. They always complain each and every year that the team doesn't put enough talent around them, or a superstar doesn't come to Portland or Washington, and they end up taking that big contract just to stay at their team, even though they keep bitching about it. So it's been time for Damian Lillard to get the hell out of Portland. I mean, this guy, he's loyal, but you should only be loyal to a fault because let's face it, your legacy is at stake. Yeah, you could be loyal all you want, but if you don't have rings on your resume, if you don't have, conference finals, he's got one on his resume, you're going to be looked down upon as what you did as a player. So I do think that it's time for Damian Lillard to get out of Portland. And as far as the teams that he should go to, you guys mentioned Miami. I think Miami would actually be a great fit for Damian Lillard because what Miami needs is a star ball handler. Right now they have, I believe it's Gabe Vincent that's running point for them. If you could get Dame Lillard, I mean, that'd be a hell of an upgrade with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. I mean, that's a team that definitely would seriously compete for a championship. But here is that wild hot take that I was telling you guys about. And, Ben and I don't know, John, if you know this, but Ben and James knows this, that when a smile creeps upon my face, I got something crazy up my sleeve.
So pretty much every take.
Not everything, but hear me out. The team that should trade for Damian Lillard this offseason shouldn't be Miami. It shouldn't be Brooklyn, even though they have, great reasons to trade for Damian Lillard. The team that should trade for Damian Lillard this offseason, believe it or not, should be the Boston Celtics. And if I'm the Celtics, I'm trading Jaylen Brown straight up for Damian Lillard. Because when you look at the Boston Celtics, right, Jaylen Brown's a great player, and him and Tatum, great duo. Don't get me wrong. But I think a Dame Lillard with Tatum duo would be an even better duo because the thing is with Jaylen Brown, I feel like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they're both great off-the-ball players. I feel like if they had a ball handler, a point guard, a distributor that could put them in rhythm, that could put them in the right places, I think it would just unlock their game to such a higher level than it is right now. I mean, imagine you have Jason Tatum with Damian Lillard, a guy that can just handle the basketball, a guy that can command the offense, a guy that can run the offense, and you can put Tatum in a post, in the post, or you could put, Tatum off the ball. I think that would definitely unleash the Celtics even more than they are right now. I mean, that's why they struggled against Miami, because I feel like a lot of the shooters were just off rhythm all the time because they just didn't have that true point guard out there running the offense. I think Damian Lillard in Boston would absolutely be so killer for the Boston Celtics. And, the thing with Jaylen Brown is I don't know what to make about Jaylen Brown, his future moving forward with the Celtics. And the reason being is, he's said great stuff about Boston, but he's also criticized Boston before, saying some stuff about like how the city doesn't, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he essentially said something about how the city's racist and all that stuff. I think it was like a couple months ago. I don't know what to make about Jaylen Brown. Like, the stuff that he says good about the city of Boston, is he just saying that just so the fans don't get on him? I don't know. Like, if I'm the Celtics, I would seriously look into that trade just because I think basketball reasons, it makes a lot of sense. And also because I think there's serious concerns that Jaylen Brown could walk next offseason. And if you're the Celtics, you can get potentially 3 years of Damian Lillard, and then you have Jaylen Brown. You can avoid him walking, and you can get something back in return.
Isaiah, I thought I'd never say the day of you picking my Celtics as a potential team, but I appreciate it, my guy. I don't want to get too overall hopeful about that. That would be awesome to see Dame and Tatum going as a duo together. But I'll keep my comments to kind of talk about that more down the road. But let's kind of focus on discussions to the NFL. And obviously, having John here, I know John loves talking football. We all love talking football. And the biggest, latest stuff in terms of the NFL overall world is the latest on DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook. Now, I know we talked about Hopkins a little bit in the past, but now we have two teams specifically that have visits coming up for the Pro Bowl overall wide receiver. And the two teams specifically, the first one was reported was the Tennessee Titans. A team specifically I was a little surprised about specifically. I know the Cleveland Browns were looking at him for a while. It doesn't seem like there's interest more or less, but the New England Patriots, yes, my New England Patriots, love if you're listening. Let's get it. The Patriots have a visit with DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm going to be just one of those people specifically that I will have a show on here if DeAndre Hopkins becomes a Patriot, and my reaction is going to be legendary because I've loved this man playing football my whole entire life, and to see him being in a Patriot uniform would be absolutely wild. But before we obviously get into that overall specifics, I'll bring it over to Isaiah. We'll start with Isaiah in terms of the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes, as now there's two teams specifically that have reportedly have visits for the Pro Bowler receiver, and that is the Patriots and the Tennessee Titans. What's your overall latest thoughts on that?
Well, I think that if DeAndre Hopkins ends up going to Tennessee, everything he says about wanting to win a championship, that is all out the door, and that nobody should trust a word that he says ever again, because that's the only way or only reason you would sign with Tennessee. Is for the money. I mean, me and James were talking about this off the air, and we were both dying laughing at the idea of DeAndre Hopkins, who said, "Oh, I want to win. I want to go to a contender," and stuff like that, and him potentially signing with the Tennessee Titans. This Tennessee Titans team, who's going to be their quarterback? Is it going to be Will Levis? Is it going to be Ryan Tannehill? It doesn't. Whoever is their quarterback, none of those options honestly excite me. If I'm DeAndre Hopkins, to have either Ryan Tannehill throwing me the football or have Will Levis throwing me the football. And then you look at Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry will be gone as a free agent at the end of the year. There's no way Tennessee will bring him back. So your window is essentially 1 year if you go to Tennessee. If you don't win the Super Bowl this upcoming season, then you're not going to win a Super Bowl with that because Derrick Henry's going to be gone. You're most likely going to start a rookie quarterback. It just makes no sense for DeAndre Hopkins to sign with the Tennessee Titans. Makes no sense at all. If he signs with the Titans, DeAndre Hopkins should be drug tested. I mean, that's the only way or only reason to explain him signing with the Titans is this guy is high on crack or he's high on some type of drug. That's the only way to explain him signing with Tennessee. Now about your Patriots, Ben. I think it's a game changer for you guys potentially if he signs with the Patriots because you guys are missing that true number one threat in the wide receivers. I feel like it would make Mac Jones look good or Bailey Zappi, whomever is your quarterback. I think that, you guys have a great defense already. Your running game is pretty stout. You just need that true number one threat that can take the top off defenses. And then the other teams will start have to respect your other weapons like a Kendrick Bourne and, Mike Gesicki and all the other weapons that you guys have. Right now, I feel like it's just a bunch of, good, solid weapons, but they don't have that other guy that can unlock them to their full potential. And if you bring in D-Hop, man, it's definitely a game changer for sure. Do I think you guys will win the division? I don't know because that division is tough, man. I mean, you got Bills, Dolphins, and Jets, and the Patriots. Like that would be a true bloodbath of a division. And so I think that it would help the Patriots. But I don't know if they'll win the division. But if you're D-Hop, if your goal is to win, right? If your goal is to win, these should be your teams and your teams only. It should be Buffalo, Kansas City, the Niners, and the Philadelphia Eagles. That should be your teams. If you really want to win, those should be your teams. Not Tennessee, New England. I could see it. I mean, because they need a number one wide receiver. But if you really want to win, take visits from Kansas City. Take visits from San Francisco. Take visits from Buffalo. Take visits from Philadelphia to help them enhance their wide receiving corps. I mean, the fact that the Niners are supposedly not in on Hopkins, I think that's a joke. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, this is why he doesn't win Super Bowls. It's because you look at the Philadelphia Eagles. You have all this star talent that they have amassed over the years, with A.J. Brown and all these guys out there, man. And the Philadelphia Eagles are going to continue to stack and stack and stack and stack and stack talent. And you're telling me right now, if DeAndre Hopkins said, oh, Kyle, I want to go to San Francisco, you're going to shut the door on him because, I don't want to pay so much money for a wide receiver. I don't want to pay all the rest of my salary cap for a wide receiver. I don't want a guy that, is a guy that's not a diva, but he's a guy that's going to be very vocal. Like, are you serious, man? This is exactly why the Niners haven't won a Super Bowl. It's because Kyle.
Yeah, it's not the lack of quarterback play for the last 5 years. That's totally not it.
It's that, and also the fact that Shanahan is just all about, we want it to be a harmonious locker room. We want it to be all about my scheme and stuff like that. Get out of here with that stuff, man. Like, you don't win Super Bowls with having a harmonious locker room. You don't do that. Look at the Eagles. That A.J. Brown. Is A.J. Brown a guy that's going to cause harmony? He's not going to ruffle feathers? I mean, get out of here with that. But if I'm D-Hop and if I really want to win, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Kansas City, or Buffalo. Those should be the teams and those teams only.
We got some comments really quick. Mess around Dave. Hope you're doing well. He had some comments about D-Hop. He's going to sign with either the Bills or the Chiefs. Obviously, like Isaiah was saying, those two teams specifically, if he wants to win. If he wants money, he should sign with my Bears. We could pay him what he wants. And obviously the Bears still have a ton of cap. D-Hop and Juju not bad if they both stay healthy and out of trouble. That's very true. They need a better quarterback, though. Mac Jones isn't it. I think Mac's going to cook with a new coach. That's obviously maybe a little biased. And then D-Hop, I don't think will sign with the 49ers. Not enough targets to go around. Okay. John, obviously I'll go to you. Obviously you mentioned D-Hop and Cincy. That's with Joe Burrow and, all those weapons, by the way. Just thinking about that. But what's your overall thoughts specifically on the latest on the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes?
Obviously, like I say, I'm not a homer, so I'm not picking my team first. Because clearly you need quarterback play, lack of receiver and running back drama. And, you actually need your offensive line to do their damn job. All right, otherwise here, DeAndre Hopkins, to me, I wouldn't say New England, not to piss off Ben people out there. Mac Jones is not a franchise quarterback. This guy's a bum. You literally make freaking Terrell Pryor be a potential starter in this football. And I'm sorry. Like, this guy, his rookie year got blown up by Buffalo. You go into next year, have 13, 14 interceptions. What I'm seeing in New England is Bill Belichick doesn't know what the heck he's doing when it comes to the draft or free agency. Since Tom Brady left, it's like he has his head so far up his own ass, he can't figure out who do I draft, who do I trade for. You make a couple of, at the time was great trades with Hunter Henry and DeAndre Smith from Tennessee after Walker retired, and those didn't work out. You have a decent offensive line, decent running attack, a couple of players. Defense isn't too bad. It's just Mac Jones. I don't see it. Clearly, you're not going to win a Super Bowl with a guy that does the gritty in the Pro Bowl. But that's not the point. I don't want D-Hop to go to Kansas City because who the heck wants to see the Chiefs back in the Super Bowl and winning another Super Bowl? And again, Isaiah, unlike your wedding night, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You're not going to get DeAndre Hopkins with the San Francisco 49ers. I think, like you see, we go to another team.
Hey,
Buffalo, to me,
sign me up.
I mean, but if you don't have a quarterback, it won't really matter. That doesn't matter because of health-wise, number one. Number two, I think if you do go to Buffalo, the only thing is I don't trust – to me, something is off about Josh Allen. The last 4 years, he has about 40 interceptions. He's averaging about 11 interceptions a year. So you bring in D-Hop. Okay, that means Dalvin Cook's not going to Buffalo. You're not going to be able to get both. This is not Madden. So do you want Dalvin Cook more, or do you want DeAndre Hopkins more? Do you want to reunite the brothers? I believe they both played at Florida. I could be wrong. Or do you want DeAndre Hopkins, Florida State? Which one do you want more? You already have an own receiver. You know he's in number 2. Which one helps your Super Bowl chances more considering your window is closing in the next 3 to 4 years? D-Hop or Dalvin Cook? Chiefs, you're just making this team fatter every single year. I don't understand how they keep getting these average players and making them Super Bowl champions. It just drives me freaking crazy. Gio Bernard is a Super Bowl champion. And Gio Bernard, LaShawn McCoy, it's crazy. But Cincinnati would be interesting, but I would rather want Dalvin Cook than him because we got Higgins, we got Jamar Chase. I think having Dalvin Cook would be better because it would free up the offense if T. Higgins does and will get hurt. I'm just curious though, does DeAndre want both, get paid and contend and win a Super Bowl? Because if you're contending, to me, the best team financially, if you want to get paid, is Chicago. If you want to get paid and contend for a playoff spot. Because they have about $35 million in cap space, if I'm wrong. It would free up. You got decent running attack. They could still afford to also get Dalvin Cook. That's a 2 or 3 year contract. You got your Hopkins, 2 to 3 year contract. You have DJ Moore, $20 million a year. Justin Fields on a rookie contract. That guy's on the defense on rookie contract. So it's a perfect scenario financially. Aaron Rodgers is out of the division. Dalvin Cook's out of Minnesota, which means that the Vikings team is going to be one-dimensional. I don't know. I just think it would be – is he more just going to a running team? I don't know. I think it just would pose if he goes to the Chiefs, the Broncos have no chance. Sorry, James, the Raiders won't even get 3 or 4 wins. I just keep adding players that can go deep down the field. It just shows you the Chiefs don't need Tyreek Hill. They have a smart GM. They have a smart head coach. That's all you need. But honestly, I think Buffalo would be good. I think Buffalo.
I'm a wild card team. Hear me out on this one. It might not. I could just be spewing shit out, but
no, you're not, Isaiah. It's okay.
How about the Chargers? You pair them up with Justin Herbert. I know you have Eckler there. You have Keenan Allen. I know Mike Williams is kind of like a decent number 2, but I feel like you could potentially. I'm just putting that team out there.
I think the Chargers, to me, at least for me, because maybe I'm a Keenan Allen hater, whatever you want to call it. Keenan Allen is not a number one receiver anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
He can play really good, but if healthy,
He's
and we don't need it if healthy, or maybe have time to go on a date. No, there's no what if. This is not freaking Marvel. This is not the multiverse. Like, can you play? It's a yes or no question. So you have two number 2 receivers. Put in D-Hop. He could potentially be that strong veteran number 1 guy for a year. I think, that could be interesting because I think outside of Mahomes, you can talk about Herbert being one of the best, not the best or the only one, but one of the best, like deep throws, or at least more interesting deep throws down the field. I mean, it could be good. Even if DeAndre Hopkins he's a good option, free agent, but his health to me is a huge concern, though. So if a team like the Chargers puts a lot of investment into him, knowing Keenan Allen gets hurt, and DeAndre Hopkins gets hurt, I mean, think about how much time the last 2 seasons he missed in Arizona, which getting him to Arizona was supposed to help him get to the playoffs and make a deep run in the playoffs. Concerning San Francisco has as much drama as Kim Kardashian does down there with her boyfriend. So at some point, it's just like he's great option. He can get deep down the field. But I hope we're not having so high expectations, thinking that it's the old Hopkins from 2013 when DeAndre Hall got schooled in Hard Knocks.
All right, James, I'll finish it off with you. What's your overall thoughts on this latest DeAndre Hopkins situation, and what's your overall best fit team for him?
I fear God. I remember what DeAndre Hopkins said to D'Angelo Hall in that soundbite of Hard Knocks, and you knew Hopkins was the man. Even as a young man, you knew that he was a beast. And yeah, that was a while ago. But, it pains me to say this, but even as a Raider fan, of course, I would, if I was him, if I was DeAndre Hopkins.
Dare say Kansas City. Don't you dare say Kansas City. We will
Kansas City.
I would go the Juju Smith-Schuster route and say, hey, I could go win a ring in Kansas City, go on the map again, and get a big free agent, contract and really get paid. But I feel like he's going to be like, hey, but I'm not Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm better than that.
I don't do TikTok dances. No way.
Right. And John mentioned, his last 2 years he's been often injured. So I think teams will balk at that and say, well, we don't want to pay you a long-term deal. That has to be a mutiny of all the teams doing that. But I think Hopkins, he should really consider that. As much as I would hate for that to happen, I would go the Juju route and just say, hey, I want a ring. I want to be on national TV. I want to, work with Mahomes. And I want to get paid after that. And it's a risk, but you have to take that in your career sometimes, where you're just like, hey, you have to humble yourself and just say, hey, I'm going to go for the ring, and then hopefully someone will pay me after that. Or I could just keep staying with Kansas City for 1-year deals and get paid. But eventually he will have to, bow out or get paid. But I would actually do that if I was Hopkins. And, the Bills sound good, but I think they need Dalvin Cook to go with his brother, or another running back source. The Titans, like Isaiah and me are saying, that was rumor. I mean, it's not a rumor. He's going visiting them. So I'm thinking, dude, the Texans sound more of a
Yeah, they have C.J. Stroud versus a guy in Tennessee who puts mayo in his coffee. In Texas, that would get you killed or in jail.
You don't want to go to somewhere where they're already falling apart. Their stadium
is falling to the second round for a first overall pick potential, apparently.
Right. You don't want to go to a place where the stadium is falling apart in Tennessee and the team is falling apart. Other from their defense, everything else around them is falling apart. And you see how they treated receivers last year, trading A.J. Brown when they didn't
So
want to pay
Trey Burks, that's the problem. Trey Burks. Do you know who that is?
the
He's
GM.
from Arkansas.
No, the receiver.
The receiver. Oh,
Exactly.
so they really have no names in Tennessee. So why would you try to go there? I like the idea of New England. You know, you could pair with Juju there, sure. But like I said, I'd rather him go to. I mean, I don't know if Pittsburgh you could work with Kenny Pickett, but that might not work out. Me and Isaiah were talking, but the Jets already have so many receivers, but they're all like Rodgers, old receivers.
I feel like he would have went there by now too.
Right. If Cobb wasn't there or Lazard, it would have been Hopkins. But you could just tell, and this is my last point. If Arizona didn't get any trade offers for Hopkins, that means he's not as valuable as he used to be. So it's a clue that, hey, nobody really wants him, so nobody was going to trade for him. So he's out by himself, basically. So that's why I say go the Juju route, go to Kansas City, get you a ring, and just see how the market is next offseason. So that's what I would do if I was DeAndre Hopkins.
Do you mind if I go?
About Hopkins was, I think, one of the biggest teams that could have been in his market, but it's another player went there was Baltimore. Odell Beckham Jr. was the team that went to Baltimore, and DeAndre Hopkins was one, I think, probably on their top wish list for Lamar Jackson to be happy before he got that mega extension. So, just want to say that.
Do you mind? I forgot about the Tennessee part. Second, Tennessee is a joke. Like, why would you go with a guy who is probably as good as Malik Willis as a passer, as good as Will Levis as a passer? Like, think about it, when you come to these main players that do a visit, how much of those do they actually go and stay with that team that they visited with? Do you remember Peyton Manning was a huge visit to Miami? He was going to go to Miami. And then what did Miami do? They drafted Ryan Tannehill. And look, he's in Tennessee. That would be an absolute disaster. I'll throw one out there that I think would never happen in any universe. Detroit.
Oh,
that would be nice.
That's sneaky.
Because they went 9-8 last year, forced the Packers to miss the playoffs with Rodgers. They're a team that I think is really going under the radar this year, and I think for that division, I guarantee I'm picking Chicago, who feels as a better passer down the field, his mobility in and out of the pocket. But it's between Chicago and Detroit for that division. Minnesota let go of Dalvin Cook. There's only so many times Kirk Cousins can go to Justin Jefferson, like we saw with Matthew Stafford the year last year when he was somewhat healthy. It's going to get predictable. Like at some point, it's one dimensional. But I think that would be a wild card team to me. Would be Detroit.
All right. Well, we'll see specifically by next week. I can't wait specifically. We'll know by next week where DeAndre Hopkins will be heading. As we had another comment here from Mr. on Dave. You guys talk about where Dalvin Cook is ending up next. We're actually going to talk about that right now. So Dalvin Cook is the other guy that is essentially now out there on the market. The running back just this past season had 8 touchdowns rushing. In his career, he's averaging 4.7 yards on the ground. So actually, for most of his overall career, he's been a very good overall running back, specifically averaging about 5 yards per carry in terms of his career. And he could catch it from the backfield here and there. He's a very productive overall running back. And I feel like specifically whoever takes him, I don't know specifically in terms of if he wants to go the money route, if he wants to go just the team fit. I really just don't know. But what I do know specifically is, according to Tom Pelissari, he is likely to be released. And it sounds like as of right now, too, that there's 2 teams that currently are kind of in, I guess, the lead group for the interest of Dalvin Cook. And that seems like to be the Denver Broncos and the Miami Dolphins. Now, I feel like specifically, I'll kind of go first specifically in terms of where I feel like Dalvin Cook's best fit is. And that for me is the Miami Dolphins. I think specifically he went to Florida State. He could be essentially in that running game specifically where I know that their running game they have Jeff Wilson, they have Raheem Mostert. They might be a little too crowded, but I think specifically that the Miami team fit with Tua
and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I just think that's a very good overall mix. They got a really good defense already there. I think him and McDaniel will work really, really well. So I'll go over to James first. On the Dalvin Cook latest news that he is going to be released. He is now out there for an overall team. And now the long-term running back for the Minnesota Vikings is now looking for a new home. So what do you think specifically that's going to be, and what's your overall thoughts on this latest?
Well, the thoughts is, they've already replaced him on the stadium windows. They have his replacement up there, Alexander Matheson. So that's when you know. When they change the banners at the stadium or around the stadium, you're gone, basically. And this has been happening for a while now. You know, I've been talking to a lot of the Viking fans I know, and they knew this day was eventually going to happen in a running back's life. You just know it's not long. You know that they're not going to be around for a while. He's going to have a fully repaired shoulder, and that's true. He might be 100% for the first time in a while, so that's going to be good to see. You know, Miami, they already have a crowded house when it comes to their running back room, so I don't really see them. The Jets could be a place, depending on Bryce Hall and how he's going to come back from his ACL surgery. It'd be cool if he was with his brother James in Buffalo. The Broncos, I don't know about that. I think when they got P-Line, I think they stopped all the running back conversations to get anyone else. But the GM there, Patton, he has a relationship with the Vikings and with Cook. 6 years ago, they were together there in Minnesota. So that's why those are linked together. The Cowboys make sense because of Elliott being gone and Pollard coming back from his injury. So that could fit there. I could definitely see that. My team with the Raiders and with the Giants, both having running backs who are pissed being on the franchise tag. I can also see that being a possibility for both of those two teams getting Cook. I don't know if there's any other surprises other from those teams, but if I think the top three teams, I would probably say, for me, it would be Cowboys, the Bills, and the Jets would be the top three teams for me for Dalvin Cook to go to in that order. And I'll be shocked if it was anywhere else other from those three that I've mentioned.
All right. I will go over to Isaiah. Isaiah, what's your overall thoughts on this latest news that Dalvin Cook has been officially released? And I know that you had the overall fantasy, of course, your bias a little bit in terms of him going to San Francisco with that overall ground game. But in fairness, to be fair, that obviously would be a very fascinating overall type of tandem with the running scheme that Kyle Shanahan runs. But all jokes aside, what's your overall thoughts on this latest breaking news about Dalvin Cook?
Well, Ben, you know me. Every time someone gets released, I want them to come to SF. You know, I want to stack super teams here in SF. I have a vision of Cook, McCaffrey, Mitchell, and Derrick Henry all in the same backfield. So, I mean, that'd be amazing for sure. But jokes aside, you know, I'm not surprised that he got released because I felt like this was going on, or this was kind of lingering in the rumor mill for like the last several months. I'm surprised that he didn't get traded because, I mean, he put up great numbers last year. He had 8 touchdowns last season. I know he's coming off that he's going to have a fully repaired shoulder, but I mean, that doesn't really affect running backs. You know, you just need to use your legs. But you look at Dalvin Cook. He's got 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He had a good year last year. I think whoever gets him is getting a steal at the running back position. And in terms of, you know, who gets him, you know, James brought up a lot of great teams. You know, the Broncos. Though I don't know why the Broncos are interested. I know he has that relationship with the GM George Patton from their days in Minnesota. But it seems like, when you pay big money for Samaje Perine like they did in the offseason, it feels like you don't really need a running back. I mean, Dalvin Cook, I feel like would be number 2 behind Perine, given the contract that they gave him. So I don't think that would make sense. Miami does make sense, but here's the thing. They have a crowded backfield, right? With Raheem Mostert, with Jeff Wilson, and with Dalvin Cook. So are there going to be enough touches going on in that backfield? I don't really know. My fantasy about San Francisco, right, with Dalvin Cook, McCaffrey, and Elijah Mitchell, it would kind of be like that, with Henry Mitchell and with Dalvin Cook if you went to Miami, because let's face it, Mike McDaniel likes Raheem Mostert a lot from their days in San Francisco. He likes Jeff Wilson a lot. So Dalvin Cook won't really be getting a lot of touches there in Miami. So it really depends what he wants to do. If he wants to win, if he really wants to win, if Dalvin Cook's main goal is, forget being paid, I want to win, I would go to the Jets because I think that when you look at the New York Jets, and I don't know if John slammed something or I don't know what happened.
No, because you said the freaking Jets.
Yeah, I said the Jets, and here's why.
What type of dope are you smoking?
Breece Hall's coming off an ACL injury, and he's not going to be ready for the first week of the season or the first half of the season.
Oh, dear God.
So, yeah, if you go to the Jets, you get Aaron Rodgers, you have Garrett Wilson. Like I told Ben and James, when Aaron Rodgers got traded to the Jets, I think the Jets are making it to the AFC Championship. And you add Dalvin Cook into the mix, hell yeah. So I would go to the Jets. I'm
going to go to my car to do the stupid-ass rant because you're going to get your teeth knocked out right now. Oh, my God.
And here's a bold one. And you guys are all going to hate me for this.
Oh.
If I'm Dalvin Cook, if you really want to win, why not Kansas City? Why not Kansas City at this point? I mean, you brought up DeAndre Hopkins to Kansas City. Kansas City doesn't. I mean, who's their top running back right now? It's Pacheco, right? I mean, Dalvin Cook.
Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they'll be just freaking fine.
Oh, Edwards-Helaire is trash anyways. I'm surprised that he still has a job at this point. If you're Dalvin Cook, go to Kansas City at this point if you really want to win. If you want to get paid, the thing is, I just don't know who's going to pay for a running back. Like, pay premium money for running back. So
I think the Vikings are clearing up $9 million for Cook. So it would probably be within like a 10 to 15 type of. I mean, he's not the same guy he used to be, but he's still very effective. I mean. I think specifically, like you said, Isaiah, if he wants to go to a place where he wants to win, the place right here that I mentioned is the Bears because I think the Bears have a lot of cap space, and you team up with a young quarterback that I think just needs a little bit of help in the back scheme, and he's a good catcher out of the backfield. And David Montgomery left, and he went to Detroit. So, I mean, they don't really have anything else there, too. I was a potential type of team where they have the money. I know they're not really in a position to win, but he probably get enough playing time where I think it probably could potentially financially work. But
didn't the Bears get a running back in free agency? I felt like they got someone. Right?
Dude, all they got is like Khalil Herbert and Dante Foreman, who Dante Foreman had over 900 yards and 5 touchdowns. But Chicago has the most cap space in the NFL right now. Dalvin Cook has almost 40 touchdowns in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
If you're saying Kansas, if you're telling me the Jets, Aaron freaking Rodgers with Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones couldn't even get to a Super Bowl, I was going to do it with Elijah Moore and a head coach who literally said, let's just take a week off. Go do whatever you want to do. That's the thing that's going to win? What type of dope are you smoking?
Go to Kansas
That is the dumbest thing I have heard all century. Aaron Rodgers is beating Josh Allen. Aaron Rodgers is beating Joe Burrow and Mahomes. Are you freaking joking? Get that garbage out of here. You're lucky no one is in the house right now. That's ridiculous. Get that out of here. Tell me how is Aaron Rodgers a winner? The last time he won, Blockbuster was still a company. Are you kidding me? The Jets! The only thing they can do is screw up your left tackle, Michael Becton. You're telling me you want your main bread and butter of your offense is a running back. Ask Tennessee how that went.
Yep.
You're telling me the Jets? Get that out of here, man.
I'm telling you the Jets because it's better than Kansas City.
How? Mahomes just won a Super Bowl.
I'm telling you in terms of
That
fans.
makes no
You want him to go to Kansas City?
If it means proving you wrong, yes. I mean, the Jets? Rodgers isn't even winning a playoff game this year with the Jets. Come on. Oh, my sweet
boy.
baby Clark. You're making my heart explode.
Williams go to the Bears?
No, he went to no, I don't think he went to Chicago. I could be wrong.
I know Detroit lost Williams and they got Montgomery, but then
Well, they got Khalil Herbert, Dante Foreman, and what's the other running back? I can't remember,
he
but no, I
went
don't
to the
think.
Saints. Never mind. He went to the Saints.
You're lucky you're on the camera screen right now because.
Oh boy. Well, I'll kick it. John, do you want to have anything else?
Yes.
This? I know that you
I did this research in my pocket. Dalvin Cook, to me, I know we talk about NFL running backs and their lifespan being short in the league, but I think Dalvin Cook knows he's not going to get an Ezekiel Elliott type contract like Elliott got a couple years ago. It's going to be a 2 to 3 year contract. Why not do that in Chicago, who has the money to not only get DeAndre Hopkins, you have multiple players that are on rookie contracts. Usually this would be different because, the guy's going to get traded. You don't trade him in your own division. That would be stupid, right? Well, guess what? He's a free agent. He can do whatever he wants. If you're about getting paid, trying to contend and have an easier path to the playoffs, you go to Chicago. Green Bay is not going to be a factor this year. Minnesota's probably going to go 8-9, 9-8 at best, and probably miss the playoffs by 1.5 games. It's between Chicago and Detroit. I think that would be. Is that me? Can you? Is it sounding weird? Okay, it's on my end. I'll keep talking, but I think Detroit would be, Chicago would be a good option. Buffalo, to me, would open up the passing game, which is why I say Dalvin Cook over DeAndre Hopkins, because that would free up. Because then now if you're opposing defenses, you have to figure out, okay, you have Stephon, you have Josh Allen, and it's really going to help Josh Allen in his health, which will help limit those turnovers because Josh Allen in the last 3 years, I believe, has over 30-plus interceptions in the last 4 years, sorry. That's alarming. And if you want to have that Super Bowl window expand just a little bit, if you want to win, you're going to have to get a guy like that because you can't have, like people say, Josh Allen is that entire offense. That's going to free up this team to either go to Stephon Diggs, you got James Cook, you got Dalvin Cook. Both brothers played together in college. They know their strengths and weaknesses on and off the field. I think it'd be great to help Josh Allen in his long-term career. Obviously, me being selfish, Cincinnati, because I don't know why Joe Mixon's still in that team, having the gun issues he's had this offseason, pulling the gun on someone in his front yard. And I don't understand. But if somehow he's in it, whatever. Prayer in that would really help T. Higgins or this team because even though T. Higgins has that ability, he is a huge question mark when it comes to his health.
Devin Singletary Texans said that's something. I've just been kind of, and really finish it off, and I appreciate finding I wasn't gonna get in very late specifically, so I'll go to first team. I'm not famous, but with that, what terms of your season specifically, and then if essentially it's been at would I'll go to Jason's White with your. Do you hear me?
James, can you hear me?
I hear you, John.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
I hear you, Ben, but it's like
It sounded like a Transformers movie, pretty much.
Yeah.
Maybe I should hop back on. Can you hear me now?
I could talk the baseball right now and we'll go from there.
I'll go to you then, James.
All right. We'll try to get Ben back, get him back and forth. The Angels right now. If anybody can hear me, echo. After losing 3-4 in Houston today, the Angels have won 5 straight. Have won 5 straight. Somehow, some way, they swept the Chicago Cubs. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna lose today. No, Cubs, no. Anyway, they took a Friday night matchup tonight against the Seattle Mariners, 5-4. Shohei Ohtani started tonight's game. Mickey Moniak homered. Mickey Moniak, surprisingly, according to Isaiah, is an all-star. He's been good for the Angels offensively and defensively. I was wrong for now. Who knows what's going to happen with him later on. But some key hits tonight were really good to see. Rendon, Ohtani, both doubled. Ohtani also homered. He was a triple shy of the cycle. By the way, he pitches as well. He did go 5 innings, 3 hits. He did give up 3 earned runs. He did walk 5 and struck out 6. It was very his pitching lately is very alarming. Ben Joyce did leave the game with right hand inflammation, and when I saw inflammation, I thought, "Uh-oh, that's going to be an elbow." But luckily, it was just his hand. But he'll go into IL. If you don't know Ben Joyce, he's the one who throws 102, 103. 101 coming out of, I believe, Tennessee. But right away you think of Tommy John, but he already had the surgery. So luckily it wasn't anything with the elbow, but he'll be out. Just as that happens, we need all the bullpen pieces we need for the Angels. And losing Joyce, but having Aaron Loop, he's awful. Having him still in the ball club really sucks. Les Teves, he got his 17th save tonight. He's becoming an all-star closer for this season at least, with all those saves. I think he's up there in the top 5. So that's been really good to see with the Angels. I know that, hey, you can win 5 in a row, but the way the American League is, I think Ben knows this too. His division can have all the wild cards pretty much when you think about it. But Houston is trying to get that. The Angels are trying to as well. Excuse me. Looking at the standings, even with the Angels winning 5 straight, even with Houston losing 4 straight, even with Texas losing 2 straight, the Rangers lead Houston by 5 and in second place. And then the Angels are third place, 6.5 back. Seattle 10 back. They've kind of fallen after they've kind of went up for a little bit. And then we have Oakland at 15 and 50, 26.5 games out. Just want to mention that for Isaiah E. And just think about it. They had 10 wins a week ago. So they've actually had a good week. When you think about it, they were 5-5 in their last 10 games. So something about Oakland.
All right.
They're messing up their pick. But looking at, the wild card, unfortunately, the Angels are a game and a half back of third place Houston for the wild card. Toronto's there a half game back. It's going to be a challenge for the Angels. They have, again, 3 with the Mariners, and then they go on the road 4 in Texas, which are going to be huge games. Remember, there's not as many division games. I think it's only, 13 games you play your division opponents. So, as I mentioned before the season, hey, play every divisional game like it's the playoffs. I really mean that. I truly mean that. Then they go to Kansas City, and then the Dodgers come to town. So we have some big matchups here with the division. I hope the Angels can get those. And just maybe with Yordan Alvarez down for Houston, maybe they could climb up just a bit in this AL West, but we'll see.
All right. Do I have you guys now before I go on? Perfect. All right. I'll go over to John now. John, what's your overall take? Obviously, I believe you're from the Texas area, so obviously, do you follow the Rangers or the Astros?
Oh, neither. To me, I would rather cut off my left foot than go for the Astros. No, I just recently started watching baseball the past 2 years. So
Okay.
I picked the Padres 2 years ago because I was trying to pick a team that wasn't relevant, but I couldn't. I would be clear of being a bandwagon. I think having Tatis really helps because obviously last year missing a lot of points towards the end of the season, obviously him getting suspended. I think going 5-3 in the last 8 games is really key because we were starting to go towards that like 24, 25 wins. I'm like, bro, it is freaking almost early June. You can't afford to be 25 and like 28, whatever 2080 was. Absolutely insane. And I really think Tatis having 2 runs and Soto getting a run, I think that you need those main guys to contribute and show up because looking at you destroyed Seattle. I mean, Seattle. The only thing, even though they're 5-3 in the last 8 games, I still want to see more consistency because going past those games against Chicago, you won 6-0. Then you lost 2-1. Then you beat the Marlins 10-1, and then you lost against the Marlins 2-1 the previous day before. So I'm like, you've seen one day dominate like the Vikings in the NFL. You dominate one game and look amazing. And then next week, you look like you just sharted your pants. I don't understand why this team is like this every freaking year. Like 7-10 against the Yankees, 3-2 against the Yankees, and then May 26th, you beat them 5-1. Where is his dang dominance in the other 2 games? The consistent dominance we're not getting in the health, everything. It's just a cluster turd. I know they have a matchup coming up. If I remember, it's Colorado, and they won last night 9-6. That's what we want to see. We want to see Tatis getting his run, Soto getting a run and getting some hits. But I don't know what type of consistency we need. Is it the outfield? I don't know what. Because we're seeing this team be dominant. Again, it's Seattle. They're not really relevant. I just need some damn consistency with my Padres. I've only been a fan for 2 years and they're pissing me off. No, I'm not switching teams like Isaiah does constantly with college football. But I just need some consistency, please, because in the last couple of years, or last year before we had a chance and blew it, we're second to last in the NL West. I know it's only June. People are like, oh, we can make a comeback. It shouldn't come to that. If you're truly that great of a team, you don't need to come back at the last second because that's magically going to fix everything. You're going to go to the World Series. You're 30-33. You're under 500. You can't make an excuse. You're 8 games behind in first place. You're 4 games behind ahead of last place. I don't know. You need consistency. And the problem is when you're in a division with the Dodgers, who is as dominant as anyone in Major League Baseball, I don't know what you do at that point. If you can be consistent, great. I don't know what you do to fix it. You're 6-4 in your last 10 games. Arizona's 8-2. Guaranteed Dodgers are on a losing streak. So if you can be more consistent, maybe you can start to be a couple more games closer to LA. Maybe that could help you out because, I mean, the Giants are, 32-31, but they're also 5-5. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you, John. I think specifically with the Padres, it's just their inconsistencies have been the biggest downfall at the moment. They've had some pitching here and there, Snell and Musgrove and Darvish, obviously. They have great overall starting pitching. I just think specifically just consistency of their top guns and obviously making sure everybody's kind of on the same page. And, Arizona's been having a really underrated year this year. They have a lot of great young talent specifically. It's pretty much that division is the National League East. I mean, better than National League East. It's kind of like the American League East with the National League West. I mean, just a lot of great teams kind of together. And the Padres want to be where they want to be specifically. They could be fine. It's just a matter of they've got to be able to take advantage of winning in division because there's not as many games in division compared to the last couple seasons. And that's if they essentially win a lot of their games this season within division, I think they should be okay. Specifically, they have the talent what it's to take. It's just a matter of being able consistent. And, if they're still within reach by the trade deadline, maybe they add some pieces and then they can make a second half push for sure.
This Padres team reminds me of two broadcasters that are very inconsistent with their takes, or people that talk sports. One, I will not mention his name or who we're talking about. Number two is Skip Bayless, because when they have a certain moment and then they contradict themselves. I won't say who because we like to Mr. Leon signed to NDA, so we don't want to mention names.
Okay. Now I'll kick it over to Mr. Leon himself. In terms of his A's and Phillies, the Phillies rant seemed to be working, as it seems like that they took down the Los Angeles Dodgers tonight on a Kyle Schwarber walk-off. They've been playing a little bit better as of late. And the Oakland A's are on a 3-game winning streak. Everybody, let's start queuing the duck boats, start playing the parade, because it's going to – yeah. So. But anyways, what's your overall weekly report on the A's and the Phillies?
Well, before I get into that, James, Ben, and John, I want to show you guys this new candidate for absolute worst first pitch of the year that I just saw a couple moments ago.
I think that was fake.
Feel bad for the gentleman.
That has to be fake. That's as real as those kissing prank videos. There's no way that's real.
Well, the worst part is he didn't even throw the ball. Like, if I was him, you fell down and you're embarrassed, but I would at least still chuck the ball towards the mound. But I just had to show you guys that. But, I actually don't have to go on here for once and actually rage about my teams. I mean, bravo to the A's. I think they were 9-40, or they were the worst team in baseball for longest period of time. They still are,
At least
you're still 12-40.
Hey,
15. I think they added 3 more wins.
They took 2 out of 3 from the first place Pirates in Pittsburgh, so give them a hand for that. And then tonight they went into Milwaukee against, I believe, the second place team and beat the Brewers. So they are beating teams that aren't scrubs, which I don't know how, but they are. So, yeah, it obviously delays our chase for the worst record in baseball of all time. But, the A's, I'll give them credit. The pitching has been better the last few weeks. They haven't really given up a whole lot of runs, so they've settled down on that. The bullpen, I mean, Ben and James, I know we talked about this last week, where Jeurys Familia was my guy in the A's bullpen, and he got DFA'd, and I was kind of bummed about that.
Not your first mistake.
Yeah, but I think the A's bullpen was under the Familia curse, because it just seemed like ever since Familia got released, the A's bullpen has been pitching so much better. I mean, they're racking up zeros. They are not giving up grand slams or 3-run homers or, a lot of base hits. I mean, it's crazy what you get rid of the toxic poison, what ends up happening. I mean, the bullpen just looks totally different. And then you look at the starting pitching. The A's, before the last several weeks, they only had 2 wins from a starting pitcher this entire year.
There's absolutely no way. That's
how?
Vegeta.
But in the last 2 weeks
on our teams.
Hey, the last 2 weeks alone, they've had 3. So Hey,
No,
it's
3 wins. Wow, you still don't have a stadium in 2027.
Hey, it shows progress. That's all we care about at this point. Because let's face
I like
it,
your stadium deal.
the A's are going to be the worst team in baseball. They're progressing. So, and then the other guy I got to mention is this third baseman, Jonah Bride. Credit to him. He was sent down to the minor leagues. He came back up. He's hitting .315, I believe. He's got 4 runs batted in. He's playing outstanding defense at third base. He looks like, believe it or not, I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but he looks like Matt Chapman out there. Without Matt Chapman being out there.
Chapman more like crappy.
Hey, credit to Chapman. He's playing good baseball. But, I mean, the A's, they're playing good baseball. I don't know how the rest of this series against the Brewers are going to
playing good in the Oakland A's, by the way, because they're still 15-50. So
they are.
I guess as of late, good. I'll respect it, but I would say more of baby step good instead of just good.
Yeah, baby step good, exactly. But you look at the rest of their schedule. I mean, you got Rays for a 3-game series or 4-game series in Oakland. And then you got 3 against the red hot Phillies next week. And then you have 3 against the Guardians, then 3 against the Blue Jays, then 3 against the Yankees. So that baby step might end up getting eliminated in the next several weeks. But yeah, credit to the A's. As far as the Phillies are concerned, Ben and James, I think the Phillies listen to my rants on Facebook because it seemed like it's working, man. The Philadelphia Phillies, ever since I ripped them to shreds and I said, we're under the Mickey Moniak curse. It's the Babe Ruth curse of the Phillies. The Phillies actually have won 7 games in a row. I mean, they swept the Tigers. They won 2 straight against the Nationals. And then today, Kyle Schwarber hit that walk-off against the Dodgers in a game which I didn't even think they were going to win in the first place. And now they're 31-32, I believe. They're only 1 game under 500. They're playing really good baseball. The Phillies are like John's Padres, just inconsistency. Sometimes they'll play great, and then they'll play great. They'll have a 6-game win streak. Then they'll have another 7-game losing streak, and then they'll erase all the progress that they made. So, I mean, I don't really know what to really make of the Phillies. I'm not going to really celebrate the Phillies just yet because they're on the meat of their schedule right now with the Dodgers. The next 2 games, and you got Arizona for 4 in Arizona. Then they get a break. They play the A's for 3. Then they have the Braves, the Mets, the Cubs, and then the Braves again, and then Tampa Bay. So this is really going to be the defining stretch for the Phillies and to see if they're for real or not, because if they struggle in this stretch, which will lead them up to July 4th, then I think we could see some major changes happening in Philadelphia. But if they play good baseball, then they'll definitely jolt into the wild card race. But it really depends how they do right now in this stretch.
All right. And obviously, I'll finish off with my team. I know, obviously, I got John's Padres, James's Angels, Isaiah's A's and Phillies. I'm going to my Red Sox, as the Red Sox are currently 500. They essentially have been 500, I feel like, the last couple times I've been on here. So essentially, it's been great, and it's been not so great. It's just kind of just very meh. And that's kind of what the Red Sox for you. Yes, they play in one of the toughest divisions in baseball, but they just lost 2 out of 3 to Cleveland. Guardians have actually been playing decent baseball as of late, but still, Corey Kluber get absolutely rocketed the last game. I wonder if he's going to be a DFA candidate specifically. They had a guy specifically that was a so-called homophobe, Matt Dermody pitch, as that was obviously a very big thing that a lot of Red Sox fans wanted him out. He actually got DFA'd right after his game yesterday, so that obviously was something very fascinating about that. But the Red Sox finally had their first game tonight against the Yankees. Out of it felt like an eternity that the Red Sox and Yankees usually play the first month of the season. This year it took till June 9th to play their first game. And the Red Sox was actually able to win in New York 3-2. They squeaked it out essentially by hair. I mean, essentially within inches of a walk-off game-winning homer by Anthony Volpe for the Yankees. Essentially, it was fortunate enough to be fouled with 2 outs, and then the next pitch, I believe, after the pitch, maybe after that, was a pop-out. Red Sox survived. Rafael Devers continues to own Garrett Cole. He had 2 hits, including a home run to opposite field. Kike Hernandez also got the action with the homer as well tonight, too. Obviously, the Yankees, it sucks without Aaron Judge. He is now on the injured list, so that is massive news in the division. Kind of similar to the James division with Yordan Alvarez. Aaron Judge being out obviously really sucks, especially with the Sox and Yankees playing back-to-back weekends for their rivalry. As well, too, for the Yankees, they have the Subway Series after this coming weekend, as well as Pete Alonso is going to be out, too. So you have no Alonso and no Judge to the Subway Series this coming week, which is going to suck, obviously, for sure. In terms of the Red Sox, they had 2 more games with the Yankees. They have Tanner Houck against Domingo Germán. I actually might be going to that game tonight, I guess now, because that's going to be the case. I'll keep you updated on that probably via off the air for tonight, as well as they have Brian Bayo going against Clark Schmidt for Sunday Night Baseball on Sunday. And then the Rockies go to Fenway. I'll be at the game at Fenway on Wednesday when the Rockies play the Red Sox. The Rockies obviously haven't been playing great baseball, but they're going to be a tough team. And then the Yankees go back to Fenway. So obviously the Red Sox specifically have a tough schedule after that. Then I believe they have the Twins on the road and then the White Sox on the road. So they obviously have some teams specifically where they play a couple of AL Central teams. They have the Yankees a couple times coming up. And then I believe they finish off the end of the month with the Marlins and then the Blue Jays. So it's kind of a mixture of some really good teams and then some teams specifically that seem very beatable. But with the Red Sox specifically, nothing is essentially kind of a beatable type team, maybe besides the A's, sorry, Isaiah. But outside of that specifically, I feel like every other team, I mean, even the Tigers this year, they've had some really good strides this year too. So, I mean, that's kind of really my overall recap in terms of my Red Sox specifically. I hope that they can get some, batting going in terms of from some guys outside of Devers. Yoshida's had some overall moments for sure. But their pitching staff specifically, I think, has just been very up and down. And I just feel like hopefully that they can get themselves going here. They are 30 now. Let me just double check really quick for you guys. They're 32 and 32. They're 14 games back at first. Tampa obviously still in first. Then it goes with Baltimore, who's had a very good year. Yankees are in third. Blue Jays are in fourth. And then the Red Sox, in terms of the wild card, they are, I believe, 4 games back, actually right behind James' Angels. So hopefully, James, that we are coming and you guys start dropping some games, for that sake. But that being said, we'll see how that goes. And that being said, in terms of everything else, in terms of the weekly recap, do you guys any other thoughts you guys want to have on that, on the MLB front? I know Yordan Alvarez got placed in the IL. Aaron Judge, Pete Alonso, some couple big-time sluggers are on the injured list specifically. Another thing too, Isaiah, Chris Sale is now on the 60-day injury list specifically. Now, essentially that he will probably be back the earliest, potentially by early August, but this is also the same injury that Jacob deGrom had last season where he had a stress fracture in his elbow, and it pretty much caused him to miss pretty much the remainder of the season. So, obviously, for Chris Sale specifically, got to feel for the man. I mean, we paid him so much money, and it just feels like every single time he has an overall recovery and he gets better, it's just always a step down. But there is the breaking news of Jacob deGrom. He is officially out with Tommy John. I actually read that on the train on the way up to the White Sox-Yankees game. I will get you overall thoughts on that, guys, because specifically with the Texas Rangers, I know, Isaiah, that was one of the teams that you picked to go win it all. This is an absolute massive blow for a team like the Texas Rangers with essentially your ace pitcher going to be out for the remainder of the season. So I actually go to James with this one specifically because it's in division for his team. Man, what's your overall thoughts on a guy like deGrom and in terms of being out for the remainder of the season with Tommy John?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I mean, even as a fan of another team in the division, you want to face the best, and we never got to face them. The 3-game series, we avoided Jacob deGrom. Still lost 2 out of 3 in horrible fashion, but you wanted him to be there. I saw his press conference, after the news was put out there, and he's crying, and you could tell that, hey, he's going to really miss out on the year that the Rangers are having, and they're having a tremendous start to their season. And it's really unfortunate that if it was anybody else, it'd be like, oh, okay, it happens. But because it's DeGrom, it's just terrible because it continues to happen to him. And you could just see after the pitch he threw there that, something was wrong right away. He's frustrated. You could definitely tell that. And you didn't want this to happen, especially in the first year of this, 5-year, $185 million deal to the two-time Cy Young Award winner. It's just unfortunate again. You wanted to see him go out there and have success and play with this team that's winning. Like he said, we've got a special group out there, and not to be able to help them win, it stinks. And you could just tell the sadness he felt right there. The money's there, but not having him on the mound will be really bad for the Rangers in the future. So that really, like I said, even though I'm an Angel fan, really unfortunate, and for his career as well. The money's there again, but to show his worth, I think that's not going to be available to happen this year, and that really is going to be unfortunate.
I've seen him pitch live in person, and I think by far, out of all the pitchers that I've seen, he's the best I've seen in person, without a doubt. He's just, his stuff specifically is just top notch. Do you guys have anything else to kind of chime in before we go to our closing remarks for tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on DeGrom. I echo James's comments. Very unfortunate. Very sad, because I thought that with him going to Texas, small market, wouldn't have a lot of pressure, so it would kind of ease up on the elbow. But this news just kind of came out of left field. 2 weeks ago, the reports out of Texas was that he was getting better. He was slowly progressing towards potentially playing catch soon. Then there were reports that he played catch. Then he was going to start throwing off a bullpen or throwing off a mound fairly soon. And it looked like it was going to come down to, okay, he's going to probably come back in like couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden, boom, Tommy John surgery. So it came out of left field, and it was just very, very unfortunate. And, I felt bad for the guy, because when healthy, this guy's the best pitcher in all of baseball, no doubt. And when he's healthy as well, you could say he is like a top 3 player in all of baseball. That's how big this loss is. But I think with this Rangers team, the fact that they are so talented, I think that they can overcome it. If they didn't have Evaldi or, John Gray pitching the way he did, Dane Dunning pitching the way they did, I think it would be a big loss. But, they've chugged along without him fairly fine. So I think they can overcome it. But I think if you're the Rangers, you got to go out right now and get Giolito from the White Sox. You got to get another ace, because I don't think you can win in the playoffs with just the rotation that you have. Your offense is too talented. They're going to put up a lot of runs, but you do need that starting pitching, because in the playoffs, pitching is what dominates. And, I don't care how good of an offense you have, it's not going to be good enough for you to just win with offense in the postseason. So, and also if you're the Rangers, when DeGrom does come back, and Ben and James, I threw this out there on a video that I made. If I'm the Rangers, believe it or not, I would transition DeGrom to a bullpen piece. I would do it, because I just don't think he can handle the stress of pitching like 7-8 innings on a consistent basis anymore. Plus, he's going to be 37 when he comes back. Like, he's not going to have his stuff anymore. He's going to look like Noah Syndergaard out there, sadly. Like, it's just – I don't know. I think that's like the best course of action that you do, since I just don't think his elbow can hold up for him to consistently pitch like 6-7 innings every time he goes to the mound. I think maybe 1 or 2 innings at best is what he can do, sadly, for his body, because his body just won't allow him to hold up.
Definitely so. Well, I think we're going to conclude for tonight's program. I appreciate you all coming on for tonight. John, I appreciate you coming on for your first show with me tonight. James, as always, Isaiah, as always. Before we get into overall closing remarks, James and John, I do want to say specifically, you guys, of course, run your own show actually together, I believe, called The Punt Off. Do you guys want to kind of say it overall to the audience really quick in terms of a little bit about that before you guys get your overall thoughts on any closing remarks?
Go ahead, John.
Sure. No, like I say, we have a lot of fun on there. It's pretty much uncensored, meaning obviously certain words we don't say. I'm not gonna say what's up, my, or like just start cussing out of the storm here. We're not unprofessional and perverted like Monster Sports. We actually have a respect to our name. We're coming back soon though. I recorded my rant from tonight for the Jets, so we're gonna have that for Punt Off and put on social media. But no, it's a good show. We talk about it, and it's basically like saying a clean screw you. You can punt off. Ben, Isaiah can punt off. The Athletics clearly can't punt off because they can't get a stadium deal. But no, I had to throw that in there. But no, it's a good show. We have a lot of fun, and I'll be glad to bring it back soon.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get my schedule free so I can, get back and doing that. Maybe it was Sunday, Monday. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's on YouTube and Facebook, and I think we have it on Instagram as well, the page at least. So yeah, anybody out there, just look us up on YouTube, Punt Off.
James has been avoiding me though. He said he didn't want to do the podcast, but he didn't want to air. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Any closing remarks, guys, before we conclude for tonight?
Yeah, I have a couple. I know the baseball world was focused maybe on Shohei Ohtani and the Angels against Luis Castillo and the Mariners last night on Apple TV Plus. But I just got to give a shout out to I almost called them something else, the Cleveland Guardians. They had a back and forth game with Houston last night, and finally in 14 innings, Cleveland won 10-9. It was one of those amazing games that, one team would score one inning, the other team would score, and it's the reason this goes to runner rules in, which I don't mind it in the regular season. If you get rid of it in the postseason, that would be fine too, just normal baseball then. But it was odd to see an extra inning game go past, the 11th. And that's what happened tonight. And then before that, I was watching the Rays game on my break. And, they ended up defeating Texas. But the fact that in 2019, the St. Louis Cardinals, who are now in last place, I think they're the worst in the National League, which is odd to say. They had Adolis Garcia and Randy Arozarena on their 40-man roster, or at least in their system. And Garcia was just basically DFA'd. Arozarena was traded for nothing. And when you think about the impact, not only, Garcia with Texas, but what Arozarena has done with the Rays, it's amazing to think like what the Cardinals had, what they could have had with those two stars and young stars. Arozarena more than Garcia. But it's just amazing to think how, GMs don't really think about the potential of certain players, and then scouts of other teams will go get them. So I know the trade deadline, isn't until the end of August, end of July, but it's just something to look out forward to. All these moves, you see all these prospects or these players being moved in deals. You never know what they could be. And St. Louis is kind of hurting at this right now without having those two young guys. So I just felt like all that was interesting in the baseball world last night. So thank you for having me on, Ben, again. It's good to see everyone again. Later, y'all.
John?
I was getting my rant uploaded. No, I was just happy to be on. It's going to be good. It was a good show. Thanks to Isaiah, I have to get a new heart. I know it's all good and fun. I didn't plan on going on a rant, but thankfully no one was in the house, so I was able to go my first rant this entire year. Oh my gosh. No, it was a good show, and I guess I heard there's a stadium they're building that looked like a toilet, and I guess the Athletics can kind of host there for a while since they're playing like crap. But thank you for having me on. It was fun.
Of course. And Isaiah.
Yeah, it was a great show, guys. Great to be on, man. Haven't been on. I don't think we've even done a whole. I don't think we've even done a. Oh no, we did one program batter up this whole week, but other than that, it's been kind of a quiet week. But hopefully, we'll get more programs out in the next couple of days in this upcoming week. But yeah, it was a great show. Thank you to everybody for tuning in, and I can't wait to see what happens. Not the rest of the NBA finals, but the NBA offseason, because like James said, that's where the NBA, the real season begins, where all the teams, get decided and whoever makes the playoffs and stuff like that. So that's the real fun of it. So I can't wait for that. And once free agency is over or over first week of July, we're about a week away from training camps starting up. So can't wait for that. It's gonna be quick.
And in terms of my show specifically, just want to say thank you guys for having me. I thought for having coming on. I thought it went well. And obviously, looking forward to probably our next one is next week, probably early next week. Obviously, I'll keep you all in tune on the line for that. But that being said, hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather, enjoy all the sports going on, the finals. And any other latest in terms of that D-Hop stuff, I'll be very curious to see about that specifically as well for sure too. But with that being said, have a great weekend, guys, and enjoy the rest of your evening.